there's only one pro-union. I won't say only one because I can't, know every broadcaster in the country. But there's only one other pro-union broadcaster that I know of any size other than myself, and that's Ed Schultz, who's on MSNBC.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of strange because, yes, unionism has gone down as a percentage of the workforce, but it's still got millions of members. You figure that somebody would have a pro-union bias other than myself. I mean, it's hard to think of myself as the last surviving dinosaur or something. But it's possible, I suppose. But no, seriously, that's really true. And think about who's on. See, what happened is, of course, the right-wing radio types have taken over radio over the last 15 years because everybody saw, Rush Limbaugh's example, where he was getting $100 million contracts, and everybody decided that's the way to go. And I can understand that. I mean, a lot of money there. But there's all kinds of under-the-table payments, I know. There must be.
Yeah.
You remember... Well, yeah, you remember years ago when Limbaugh finally, lifted his head above the mud that he came from, and he back when Clinton was president, he was always continually harassing Clintons over their efforts to have national health care. You remember that?
No, I don't follow Rush Limbaugh anymore. I haven't for about 20 years.
Oh, I know, but this was about when I haven't listened to him in many years, but I'm saying he basically, when he reached the national stage, one of his main issues was to lambaste the national health care that Clinton was trying to propose. And I've always suspected, and if it works like all the things we're talking about with Monsanto, I could almost guarantee that the American Medical Association made some heavy investments into the Rush Limbaugh show.
Basically, what happened, there was a lot of rumors that I started hearing about him a couple years ago that at the end of World War II, we basically brought Nazi Germany and it took over the U.S., and that's kind of true to an extent, I feel, because if you ever looked at the Bayer Corporation, in World War II, that was the Merck company, and it was the head of the German Weapons and Biological Research Division. And Rockefeller brought it over here after the war and continued it as the Bayer Company. And they're still in business to this day. Yeah.
Well, I heard something about that, but I never heard about it in depth to the extent you're talking about. But I know that there's all kinds of shenanigans going on in the background. Like I once mentioned on the air how George Bush's grandfather, actually both grandfathers, were going to be indicted by FDR in 1942 for trading with the enemy, that is Nazi Germany. And it's just a funny set, and I guess money got him out of it. But still, I mean, this is a very bizarre format for the father and grandfather of two respective presidents who was considered a traitor and going to be prosecuted by the government, and how these bozos are still floating around. It's kind of hard to figure,
Yeah, the bankers have long arms.
They do, and I mean, this was a real deal because what it was, if I remember correctly, it was the UBS bank that financed Hitler, and these two grandfathers of George Bush Jr. Were the directors of this bank, and they even had the audacity to brag that they were Hitler's financier. And I'm thinking, boy, that's a hell of a thing to brag about. I mean,
maybe you guys name a camp after me.
Yeah. I mean, it's some weird stuff. But, for people hearing this, they think, well, y'all have been, knocking down gallons of whiskey or something. But no, this is all true. If you don't believe it, guys that are listening, look it up. And you'll look up Prescott Bush. And the other grandfather, I don't remember correctly, but just look up FDR 1942, Bush's grandfather, and you'll find it. And this is all true stuff. And that the business with that Bayer Corporation is true, too, yeah.
Well, the thing that a lot of people overlook, they think that George Bush Jr. was a great patriot, and that he was the only president who went against the Agenda 21, which his father signed. But what they don't realize is that he pursued stem cell research, which is another agenda of Agenda 21. So he
now explain Agenda 21 for those that are not familiar with that. What was Agenda 21?
Agenda 21 is the plan by the United Nations and the New World Order to resettle the human population to certain areas of the planet and reduce the population to less than 500 million from currently like 6.7 billion.
Well, I've heard that several places. I didn't know the Agenda 21 as far as that being what it was called. But I've heard that several places, and I've heard all kinds of people potentially being associated with that kind of thinking. I know that is something Alex Jones does concentrate in, too, as far as trying to expose. And maybe, Mike, I'm not sure, maybe that is part and parcel of this GMO crop thing. I don't know.
I think it's all interrelated. Even all these chemtrails. That's one of the things I'm trying to figure out is the chemtrails, because they say it's for weather manipulation. But I kind of wonder if it's to increase global warming.
Well, I wonder myself because we had a Mike Murphy some months back on chemtrails, and it's obvious as the day is long that this is an unusual phenomenon. I see them here in Dallas-Fort Worth. These are not exhaust trails. I mean, a vapor trail from a jet would dissipate. These things last and last.
I watched this morning. I was taking pictures of them, and I watched 3 of them fly by in a line, laying the chemtrails, and you can see them spread out to about 6 times the width they were when they were sprayed from the ground. But I watched another plane that flew kind of crossways to it, and it went just over them because you could see the shadows on the chemtrails, and there was no vapor trail behind the plane that flew over them. And you're right, the contrails usually seem like they last about 1,000 feet behind the plane, not 10 or 15 miles.
Oh, I know. These things last and last, make like a checkerboard look to the sky, and it's totally different than the trail a jet would normally use from back in yesteryear. It's totally different, and it is clear that there's something really bizarre going on. It really is, and it's such a well observed phenomenon that I don't see how anyone could argue with the validity that what we're saying is true. That it's more than just some new propulsion system, because they'd say that if it was. It's not.
Yeah, it's not that.
No,
it wouldn't have smog log.
It's just a very. Oh, I guess I didn't mention to the folks what city are you calling from, Mike? It's
I live in Grass Valley, California. Yeah.
And what big town is that near?
I'm about an hour northeast of Sacramento, kind of in between Tahoe and Sacramento.
Oh, that sounds pretty nice. That really does.
Yeah, it's nice up here. Got a lot of nice big ponderosa pines around here.
Oh yeah, I love those. I remember it's been many, many years since I was in California, but I remember they had a lot of ponderosa pines somewhere I was in. At Vegas, they actually imported them from California to use as landscaping around some casinos, and just a real pretty little area. And I've seen pictures, of course. But now my half brother was from Sacramento, and he sure loved it out there. He sure did. And
that's a little too hot for me down there.
Is it? Well, Tahoe looked pretty.
Oh, Tahoe is great.
Oh man, I've seen pictures. That was my brother-in-law's famous retreat. He loved going up there. And
yeah.
Well, I guess I guess I envy you from that standpoint, because it's right here. It's starting to be 100 every day, and it'll stay that way through September. It peaks out it reaches kind of a crescendo, because in August it'll be 107, 108, and sometimes 113. Well, Mike, we're with just a few minutes. We're going to break for our first break, but so it's the Citizens Action Network, and folks could find it where, on Facebook?
Yeah, we're on Facebook right now. We have Citizens Action Network pages for all the 50 states, and then we started one for about water awareness, for what's in the water, and then the Citizens Action Network Gardens and Preserves page to teach about how to garden and what vegetables to plant that your body needs and how to preserve food so you can become self-sustainable.
I know. Things are getting, well, I've been around a long time, and I'm no great genius as far as having, a great understanding of how things are working or how every conspiracy is working or whatever, but you can feel change in the wind in many different ways, a feeling of ill-ease, because some of these things, like we're talking about major issues like chemtrails, people playing with the food system, and maybe when we get back from the first break, we'll talk about some of these intrusions into your freedom. I mean, this is a whole combination of factors, Mike, that is not imagination. It's as clear as, the hand on the end of your arm, and I think we're in a really strange time.
Very bad time for people, that's for sure.
It is, and it's not anyone that's, observant can see these are some sea level changes, man. I mean, but I'm sure glad that your group is highlighting these things. I mean, everything you highlight are things that, we deal with in this show, and it's great to have you on. So what they do is they join your Facebook group, or they just follow Citizens Action Network, hit the like page, I guess.
Yeah, we have the main page where Craig posts a lot of the big topics, and then the state pages were meant more for people to be able to network locally and have boots on the ground where we could go out and help people promote the gardens and things like that, and go in person and talk to the sheriffs and find out their stance on the Constitution and Second Amendment and things like that.
Yeah, we need to talk about that when we get back too. That's very important, and I know I've had some sheriffs on in past times, and people don't realize how important sheriffs are to our whole little system, and the grassroots thing is very important too, because this may be, not trying to be, overly conspiratorial or excited, but this may be one of the small windows of opportunity we've got left to do something about these changes that are being inflicted on us. And I don't know, I'm a little too ornery to be pushed around. I don't really like it. And so maybe people can get occupied with this and get involved. So listen, let's go ahead and go to our first break, and then we'll come